I'm sure you, as well as I, have been keeping your eyes on the real estate market. Do you think things are getting better? It's the Real Estate Show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. My name is Rick Naples. I am the owner-broker of Zone Realty LLC. You zone your home. Well, the real estate market. We've been talking about it a lot. We've been watching what's been going on. All the statistics are starting to come out. At this particular filming, we're about halfway through 2022. June is almost over. So we're starting to see what the first quarter and what the second quarter has brought us so far as the overall housing market. It's been tough. You know, the Fed's been up in those rates and housing prices have been increasing. Construction's been down. The availability of houses for sale have been low. And we're still dealing with a lot of unknown factors. The economy, gas prices, food prices, and so on and so forth. So if you're in the market to purchase a house, is this the time to do it? Well, in the last couple of shows, I've kind of talked about that a little bit, and I want to talk about it a little bit more. It's a tough decision when you're looking to get into the housing market in a normal market. I mean, it's a really big commitment. There's so many things that you have to consider. Not only are you financially stable enough to be able to get a mortgage, but if you do purchase a home, all the different responsibilities that come along with owning that home. And in a market that's been as crazy as this has been, there's a lot of unknown factors. I mean, if you purchase a house now and you get into a bidding war and you pay over, let's say, the asking price, how long is it going to be before you're going to recoup that investment? And how much over asking price do you offer? There are a lot of buyers that have purchased homes most recently that are getting what's called second thoughts or buyer's remorse. They got involved in the frenzy of wanting to win the house that they put an offer in. So you have a situation where you had a bidding war and kind of a one-upsman's type thing, where someone would make an offer, someone would make a counter offer, and it would go back and forth, and before you know it, you have people that are purchasing homes at thousands, literally thousands of dollars over what the asking price was. I recently saw a Facebook post by a fellow realtor that was bragging that the house that he just sold sold for $40,000 over asking price. Now, of course, not every house is going to do that. Depends on the price range of the house, you know, where it is as far as how it's priced to the market and so on and so forth. And basically its wantability, in other words, what the buyer wants in that house, as to whether or not they're going to overpay for it. But the question is when you do that, are you stuck in that house for a number of years? There's all kinds of articles out there, folks, that will tell you that the average person now buying a house is finding that they're going to have to stay in the house anywhere from 10 to 14 years in order to recoup what they've put into it. That's all been skewed because of the way this market has been. It could be longer. Where it's really started to affect are those individuals that are fortunate enough to be in what's called the fix and flip business. In other words, they look to buy a home that needs a little bit of work, fix it up, put it back on the market, sell it, and hopefully make a profit. Because of the expenses that are involved with all the different materials and the way those costs have gone up, the margins have gotten awfully thin. There's not a lot of inventory out there to pick from, and if you do find a house that you can purchase to fix up, you're not going to make as much of a spread of a profit as you would have made, say, only a couple of years ago. again, because materials cost so much. We're finding a lot of folks now that are getting into fix and flips, finding themselves pricing themselves right out of the market. They're investing in the home. They've had to overpay for it in order to win the bid. Materials are very expensive. Their profit margins are very thin. I've even seen situations where, unfortunately, folks who have the ability to buy for cash have tried to finance the house, do a 203K rehab loan like I've talked about here on the show before. And again, I'm not a mortgage officer, but that's one type of loan. And then finding that they can't hold on to the house long enough to make those mortgage payments in order to be able to resell it for a profit, and they end up losing it to the bank. Not a good situation. Some recent articles are coming out that are now starting to predict where the market is going and what's happening. I've seen some statistics out there that talk about housing inventories are still low. The interest rates have gone up. I mean, we're over 5%, approaching 6% very quickly. We may be looking at 7% by the end of the year. We'll see. We're seeing that, the ability to purchase a home is getting tougher and tougher as far as qualifying for a mortgage, down payment money, the different programs that are out there. It's not an easy trip. But for those of you that are able to put together the funds and put together the will to be able to purchase a home, there are some good buys that are still out there. You just have to really dig in and take a look and open your eyes as to what is available. Now, there's three types of houses when you're going to search for a house. There's the move-in condition house. That's the house everybody wants. It's a house that's beautifully landscaped. It's all been updated. You like the colors on the walls. You like pretty much the decor in the house. It's basically buy it, move in, and start living. Those are rare. If you do find one, there's going to be a lot of people that want that same house. So you're going to find competition on it, and there's going to be bidding wars. The second kind of house is the gently loved house. This is the house that, it's okay. It's not really perfect. It's livable. I mean, you could live with the kitchen, you could live with the bathroom and the style of the house, maybe change the color out of the paint, do a little bit of fix up here and there, maybe change the landscaping or clean it up. But it's not a house that needs a huge amount of investment in. I mean, it's structurally sound, the furnace is good, the windows are good, and so on and so forth. But it's a house that, you're going to have to put a little bit of work into in order to make it the way you want to. Those houses are out there, but again, because they don't need a lot of work, there's a lot of competition on those houses. The third kind of house falls into the house that needs love. These are the houses that are kind of the forgotten houses. They're foreclosed houses, they're probate houses, they're bank-owned houses, they're houses that are out there that are older. I've seen them as old as, 100 years old here in Connecticut, that are way out of date. They've had the same owner for 50, 60, 70 years, and they're stuck in time. They need complete updates. They need updates on kitchens. They need update on electrical systems, plumbing systems, bathrooms, and so on and so forth. And this is where construction loans and rehab loans and those kinds of loans come in very handy in order to make those houses the way they could be. But you have to be careful with those houses. You got to remember, anything that you're doing now, you have to follow all the new codes. So you might want to buy an older house to fix it up, but you may find in order to bring it up to the code levels that are required, it's quite expensive. So you kind of got to factor that all in. So idealistically, you want to try and find a home that doesn't need a lot of work, that kind of in the medium range. And you want to buy, I guess the best words is to buy underneath you. And let me explain what I mean by that. Let's say that you get a pre-qualification letter and the bank pre-qualifies you for $250,000. Do you run out and find a home that's in the $250,000 price range? Maybe not. Maybe you want to find a home that's thousands of dollars less that you can fix up, giving yourself some wiggle room. I said on a previous real estate show that one of the good rule of thumbs that used to be used in the old days is you would figure out where your mortgage payment's going to be with taxes and insurance and principal and interest. And you would take that number and double it. If you find that if you can double that number, it's affordable for you, then you probably got a good shot in being able to purchase a home and be able to live in it without being stressed out. Is those folks that get pre-qualified for, let's say, that amount of $250,000, and then they start shopping for houses in the 260, 275 and above range because they figure, well, I'm qualified for 250, I've got money to put down, as long as it balances out, I'll be good. But they forget about that monthly payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And they forget about the average costs of running the house. Let's take a look at this quick presentation, and then I'll be back to talk about what are the costs when you buy a house. I'm talking here on the real estate show about the real estate market and the challenges that are out there and inventories that are low and so on and so forth. And I left off with the thought of what are the true costs of owning a home. A lot of folks think it's just the mortgage payment. Well, you have to remember the mortgage payment includes the principal on the loan and the interest. And if you put less than 20% down, you have this private mortgage insurance that kicks in there that could add $100 or more to the mortgage payment, and talk to your mortgage officer about the details of that. But you also have, besides your normal closing costs and down payment, once you own the home, you have costs that are involved. Now I'll use myself as an example. I've owned a lot of houses in my time. But I got to the period of where I had sold the last house that I owned, and I went and lived in an apartment. And I was fine living in an apartment. And then the situation changed where I decided to get into the real estate market and buy a house. Now, buying this particular house that I'm filming from, I realized that I had nothing, literally nothing, to maintain a home. I needed to go out and buy a lawnmower, a snowblower, shovels, rakes, power tools, all kinds of things that homeowners would have in order to maintain their home. I needed a ladder. I never thought I'd need to have a ladder, but I got to have a ladder because I got to be able to get up and clean my gutters. I've got to be able to fix things that are up on the roof and so on and so forth. So I spent literally a lot of money just buying tools that I needed for regular home maintenance. One thing about owning a house, no matter how perfect the house is, even if it's brand new construction, there's always going to be something to do. That screen door that needs to be fixed, or something that needs to be leveled, or it's not just changing light bulbs and cleaning floors. There's a lot that's involved. So you need to be prepared for that. You also have just the basic costs of running the home. How is your home heated? Well, my home is heated by oil, and we know right now that oil expenses are pretty much up there. I have to really figure out how much oil I'm going to use and how to be able to afford to fill that oil tank up. Electricity. Well, we all need electricity. If you've done like I've done, where you update the electrical box, maybe you end up with an efficient system, so your electricity's not that bad, but electricity is a cost. What about lawn maintenance? Are you going to be out there every weekend cutting your lawn, or are you going to hire somebody to do that? Landscaping, weeding, planting trees, planting bushes, doing flower gardens, all that kind of stuff, all factors into owning the home. There's costs that are involved. So you need to kind of keep that all in mind. Then there's the hidden costs, the unexpected costs. Long time ago, when I used to work with the banks and I did a lot of finance contracts, we would always tell folks that you need to have anywhere from 3 months to 6 months worth of pay, your monthly pay, put aside somewhere. In the old days, we used to call that a rainy day fund. It was monies that you had that were there in case of an emergency. Today, it's really hard to do that unless you're fortunate, you work for a company and you have maybe a 401k or a Roth plan or something that you're contributing to where you have that money put aside. But when you own a home, there's always the unexpected. What if you get a leak in the roof? What if the furnace has a problem? What if your air conditioning breaks down? All those different expenses that maybe you're not ready to pay for. Or you got to put it on a credit card unless you got to add to your total debt load. So you need to look at not only your expenses in purchasing the home, your expenses in operating the home, but those unforeseen expenses that may come up with just everyday living in the home. Let's take a quick look at this presentation. I'll be back with some final comments here on the Real Estate Show. I've said many times here on the Real Estate Show, and as many of the viewers know, I like to read articles. I try to keep myself up to date on what's going on in the real estate market, and I usually spend about an hour a day in the early morning before the day gets too hectic, checking the internet, looking at real estate articles, reading the different opinions that are out there, trying to get a handle on what's happening in both the national market and also here in my state, the state of Connecticut. I see a lot of different opinions, a lot of different things that people are saying about what the market is going to do and predictions that they're trying to make. And they look at the historical events, where we've been, to try and plot where we're going. And it's been an interesting ride. There's been a lot of changes that have happened. One of the articles that was in U.S. News that I happened to read was predicting what was going to happen towards the end of 2020. And it was pretty much doom and gloom. I mean, they were talking about interest rates rising over 7%. We just last year were down around 3% for a fixed rate mortgage, and now we're talking 5.5%, 5.75%, trending towards 6%. When the mortgages get up to 7%, if they do, it's going to be really tough, especially for a first-time buyer, to factor in all those expenses I've just talked about. Not only the mortgage, but the operation of the house and so on and so forth. There's also indications that the economy is going to recover and get stronger. Unemployment's going to go down, and there's a lot of jobs out there. But pay, as always, is not keeping up with the cost of things. So people are finding that they're working more. And if you're like me and you're working more in order to keep afloat, you have less time to work on the house. So it's kind of a catch-22 problem. You need to look at all the different factors that are involved, again, for home ownership. And when you read the articles, read other articles, because where you have one person saying one thing, you'll have another person saying something different. So in order to kind of weigh what's going on out there, read a lot of different articles. Talk to a lot of people. Talk to folks that you know that own a home and what their experience was in buying that home. Talk to your realtor. Talk to your mortgage officer. Even talk to your attorney if you're good friends with the attorney. And ask a lot of questions. I want to leave you with this thought. There are no dumb questions. You can always ask a realtor any question that you feel you want to ask. Realtors do their best to keep their finger on the market and to try to find out the answers for you. One of the best relationships you can have with a realtor is a realtor who's not afraid to say to you, I don't know, but let me find out. You don't want realtors that seem to think like they know everything, because you want them to make sure that they present to you facts and not just hearsay or thoughts or projections or anything along those lines. So be careful when you're picking realtors. Well, the housing market is a challenge. For those of you out there that are looking to get into it, I wish you the best of luck. And I thank you very much for watching the Real Estate Show. I'm Rick Naples, and I'll see you next time.
Welcome, I'm Nick Augustino. I'd like to welcome you to the Clam Box, where we do seafood our way. We got lobster roll, fried clams, fish and chip, fried shrimp, and our famous onion rings. We put a lot of precaution into the safety for you and your family. Not only do we use plexiglass at the cash register and sanitizer, we all wear gloves and we all keep a 6-foot distancing, and everybody must wear a mask. We carry all the options. We got DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and of course, we got curbside where we bring it right to your car. Online ordering is available at clamboxnewbritain.com or by calling us at 860-357-3118. The Clam Box, 586 West Main Street, New Britain.